I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're actually watching Mushoku Tensei Season 2, Episode 1. Last week...
to go like this.
Yeah.
You said it. I was like, oh no, it's 1.
Last week we watched Episode 0. What that offered us, though, was a bit of a prologue or a catch-up with where Sylphie's been. What Sylphie's been doing.
Sylphie, what you been up to?
And Sylphie now goes by Fritz and is kind of hidden in... Fitz. Gotcha. I had a principal in high school named Fritz. They both had white hair. That's, I guess, why. Fitz. Silent Fitz.
Silent Fitz. The R is silent.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Silent
Good
Fitz,
save.
yeah.
Derek's also dead. That was
R.I.P.
Yeah. So Fitz, Ariel, and Luke were on their way out of where they have been and trying to find a more safe place to find home temporarily, at least.
Ariel's studies as an excuse or reason for her to be traveling outside and therefore possibly avoiding more assassins.
Yeah. And I assume, we saw them in the snow, I assume that they are going to a place that is where we saw the end credit of last season, which is them in a room talking about Rudy and how they're going to try to bring him on board. And I wonder if this episode we're going to go back to Rudy and see what he's up to, where he is, and if maybe Fitz is going to try to recruit him.
And major evidence of that would be the fact that last episode was 0.
Yep.
And not episode 1.
Not episode 1.
And not episode 1.
This is episode
1. Right now. Right here.
Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Oh,
snow.
I'm so excited. Title screens.
I love the snow.
That looks like Rudy, right? Yeah, it is. You see his freckle.
He's sad.
Adventurer bodyguard.
Where are we going?
Suzanne.
They're alike. Eris and her?
Yeah.
It's like that comforted him that she's similar to Eris.
A lead.
Clean out your ears and listen up. 3 great magical nations. Stop.
That's sick. Kind of.
What are the dangers?
Right? Whoa. I missed being in this world, man. Aw. Rudy looks older. How much time do you think's passed?
I don't know. I'm very curious. Is that like more than how much the room cost? Look at the windows. What a season 1 throwback.
Right. Officially disbanding his party.
Solo.
Is he having a panic attack? Do you think that he just grabbed Eris's hair?
That is how he looks.
私たちと一緒に受けないかい？一緒に？一人で動いたって限界があるだろ。もっといろんな人を頼るべきだ。
Look at the green hair.
サラもそれでいいね。はいはい。
わかるよ。いろいろと理由はつけているが、結局ただの同情だ。
僕は見ての通り魔術師ですので、前衛を援護するのが得意です。
ならちょうどいい。それじゃあ今日は準備に当てて、明日の朝北門に集合ってことでいいかい？
I am worried about her surviving.
Her name's Suzanne, right? She's too, like, nice and perfect.
He has a type. I think you're right with the panic attack. They're really like planting tons of season 1 stuff.
Right?
無影症で魔術が使えます。
じゃあよろしくね。
God, I'm so nervous. I don't know.
This is the most disconnected he's been since like the beginning of season 1.
Yeah, but also, like, Sarah might be my new Zenith. She's like an archer.
あなたがリーダーじゃないのですか？
Timothy.
He's the leader. They're all gonna die.
I don't want them to.
I think we're getting introductions because they're all gonna die.
言っておくけど、私はこんなの認めてないから。足引っ張って誰か死ぬようなことになったら許さないんだから。
Maybe they're just trying to make us feel this way on purpose.
あんたも私らと別れて別の冒険者と組むかもしれないんだ。
It's like this is her family.
アスラ王国ではわがままも通用したけど、こっから先そうは言ってられなくなる。だから他のやつとの連携も学んでおくべきさ。
この子の教育に利用されたってことか。まあいい。
Oh my god.
I love how vibrant the red is.
I have chills.
じゃあ戦闘の段取り確認しておこうか。
Fighting at night, too.
そこをサラが。
援護。
もし前衛がダメージを受けた場合は、
俺が回復させる。
これが大体の段取り。
They all have a place and a role.
あんたは足止め。
僕も前に出るのは。
私に後ろからやられたいの。あんたはこのパーティーじゃ異物なんだから、言われたことだけやって。
はい。
こういうところも似てる。
サラ、これから依頼だってのに空気を悪くするんじゃないよ。
ごめん。
You really do get the feeling that they let Rudy in for her. Like they're all looking at her with such like care and attention.
悪い子じゃないんですが、少々天狗になってまして。無影症魔術が使えるなんて私の学校の未来だ。
So there are people that've done it before.
こんなものが使えたところで大切な人が戻ってくるわけじゃありませんよ。
いけると思うかい？
大丈夫。でしょ？
But just hearing that she's a little bit full of herself, that worries me.
汝の求めるところに大いなる炎のかごわら暴れくる炎よ。巨大な恵みを焼き尽くせ。エクサフレーム。
Damn!
It doesn't even look like it did anything.
I'm so anxious.
Was there another group? A different monster?
Avalanche?
Avalanche. The mud.
Black grizzlies.
No, it's like the... Is that the... We're stuck.
いや、もうなんかめんどくせえな。どうせ何も残らないし。
私がおとりになる。
Don't let someone else. Just because you don't have the will, don't let someone else get hurt. It like is grabbing him by the shoulder.
Good job, Sarah. Oh, that was so close.
That was terrifying. Rudy.
You can hear his heartbeat. So exciting.
Rudy.
Holy shit.
They're like stopped in their tracks.
See that sun back there? That was what Rudy made. Jesus.
So is it the fur that's valuable or the meat?
I'm gonna guess fur. Yeah.
I would have thought that burning the fur would be bad then.
Yeah! That's a good way to win their affection. Counter arrow.
Make me cry just with him laughing.
Whoa. Cool shot.
Oh, I loved that. Like with the light from the fire coming on.
You see her hair on the table?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Roxy.
I'd forgotten about living seriously. What a journey.
Oh.
Things I still have.
Oh.
I've had it worse.
I have chills. And do what needs doing. The Brokenhearted Mage. Okay, that was Mushoku Tensei Season 2, Episode 1. That was a first episode.
That was one of the best, like, next season openers
Oh.
I have ever seen of, like, not just recap, you know, it's not just, like, showing us where we left off in Season 1 or, you know, doing a slideshow almost of all the moments of Season 1. What it did was just give little Easter eggs and little dialogue pieces and moments of even visual overlap to, like, scenes and architecture, and just everything was like a little hint, and none of it felt like super, like, in your face forced callback. It was all just like it was all natural.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like super impressed by that right now.
I am so happy that they went the route that they did, especially closing out the episode in terms of remembering Roxy's influence on Rudy and remembering, like, how scared Rudy was at first to leave the house or leave any type of area and didn't want to go outside before Roxy took him. And it's like, I want to be careful with the use of the term reverted, because it can imply a lot, right? But, or regressed, because when you're because that's not what happened, but at the point Rudy was at, the symptoms that he was that he was showing were similar to those long ago when we first met him as a character. And I think that it is so strong and so cool that we're able to take all of those things that we started out with and bring them back here and use them in a way of growth and to show how far we really have come.
Him starting out this episode by himself is the device used to show us how far he's come, because we start out Season 1 him finding it hard or being too walled up to actually connect to the people around him. He's kind of just like an outside observer, not really like a part of the world. And when Roxy takes him out, and then he ends up going and meeting Eris, and then that whole disaster, all of these really big and really hard things are happening to him, but he's letting himself connect, and he's letting himself feel security and safety among these people that he cares for. That what gets him through the initial disaster is that he has Eris there and he needs to get her home. And that's what gets him through it. And here we built up all this armor for you because it's so much easier to be happy and to feel safe and secure when you have a living person next to you and you're feeding off their energy and you're feeling security in that togetherness and that friendship and relationship. And so we built this armor up for Rudy of, like, connecting and feeling a place of belonging and friends, and even if something bad happens, they're going to fight for you, and you can lean your head on their shoulder at the end of the day. And then we ripped it all off and left him bare again. Like, when he is naked and afraid in Man God's domain, like, that's basically what happened here, but for Rudius Greyrat. Like, he was stripped of everything. And it's like, okay, now that we've taken away all that you've built in this world, and we've basically just removed it from your body, how do you feel now? Like, are you any different than you were when you were a child born into this world?
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this show is time and time again, and now this episode, they show that even the strongest of characters, or regardless of how strong you get, everybody falls off their horse at some point. And it's not about the fact that they fell off their horse or something awful happened or they're down. It's that getting back up. And we saw, like, I think of Paul, right? And, like, how he shaved and, like, you know, like the journey he went through. And we got to see him go through a little bit. And I'm looking at Rudy this episode, and I'm really proud of him, like, in terms of just internal character development. And it was really I don't know, refreshing. And I was a little bit in disbelief hearing the things that he was saying in his like other voice, right? His previous life's voice, and like how self-motivating he was being at the end of the episode. And it was so nice. It was like, I was like, oh my God, this is payoff for how far we've come.
I really love that you just brought up Paul, because I think that this ending scene really parallels where Paul has built up this sadness and this loneliness and this sticking in the bad when we first find him again. And that's what Rudy's in at the beginning of this episode. He's not even shaking Suzanne's hand. He is not wanting to speak to these people that he's traveling with initially. And when Rudy throws the hair into the fire, it's similar to when Paul casts off his grudge or whatever animosity he was holding and blame he was putting on Rudy, and like shaves his face and presents himself like, now I'm fully bearing myself to you. And that's basically what's happening at the end here, is that though I did the analogy of he's being stripped of everything he has, he's now opening his heart. He's now bearing everything. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what Paul did when he came to Rudy, and they had that really great scene and conversation at the table. And I think comparing those two is nice.
Those two episodes that we had dealing with those interactions, like, I can't stop thinking about them in relation to this episode. Paul had a sort of panic attack himself during those episodes and what he was going through. And then what, I could be misquoting it or paraphrasing, but I believe Geese said something along the lines of, would you rather be looking at your dead-eyed son who lost a piece of himself? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we saw this episode. We
were seeing a dead-eyed Rudy who felt like he had lost his will to live.
Yeah.
His wide continue
He was
on.
he had like a smile of peace when he felt like he was about to die.
Yeah, and then obviously as the fight continues and we feel that everything's shifting, when he said the line that he was feeling excitement, and he's like, what is this? What am I feeling? It feels so familiar. He's like trying to identify what's like bubbling up inside of him as he's watching all of these people like come together in their camaraderie of their guild and fight for their lives together. It's exhilarating, and it's like, it's almost like it reminds him about like being alive.
Yeah.
And which is like, so when he said that line, I was like, oh yes, like, you know, that like, it made me emotional. And honestly, this episode made me emotional in like multiple parts of it.
Understandably. I mean, I just think it's a testament to what the show has already established, that they can do something like this and have so many. I think you hit the nail on the head when it's like the idea of so many callbacks without actually having any callbacks, like in your face, like being like, oh, look at this, remember this? Nah, like the whole first season was appreciated and shown in this one episode. Like, and it was so good.
Even when the guys are walking through the tunnel and they're passing him and they're like, oh, I could be, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just that it was, I know at the end, the very, very end, like kind of the credit kind of end, we got this overlay of him by the fire, and then there was scenes and stuff happening in like is this my left or my right? The left corner.
Yeah.
The left corner. It's like, I wasn't even watching that. It was like nice visual effect, but it wasn't as emotional as what was happening in all of the visuals throughout the episode. It almost felt more just like a bookend.
Yeah.
Which I was like, I've never seen flashbacks be used as like a bookend.
Mm-hmm.
They're always just what's supposed to initially make you emotional.
Yeah.
But they made me emotional far before they gave us these glimpses of Rudy in the past.
The actual like physical representation of it. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. I
it was
agree
just it was almost like an embellishment, an emotional embellishment, but more like a visual experience and less like, oh, this is what we're gonna do to make you feel it. Like, we were already feeling it.
I loved that it was shown so sparsely, and it was only shown during the actual voice acting of Because I've Had It Worse. Mm-hmm. And I think it was great. I was so fucking scared that all of these people were going to die. I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought all of them were going to die.
As soon as they started, like, Okay, Suzanne, I was like, oh, she's gonna die as soon as she was like super friendly, and Sarah was more closed off and like, you're being rude to her. And I was like, oh no, that's not a good sign. And then when all the others were like introducing themselves, like saying their names, I was like, oh.
I was so ready for them to. I don't know. I'm so glad they didn't, of course.
Yes, I am also very glad they didn't.
Suzanne's fucking awesome.
I think that,
Sarah's great.
Yeah. I think that this is going to be... I don't know how long Rudy's going to be staying with these people, because we did get episode 0. And then we did get the last episode 23 of season 1.
Yeah.
And so we know that at some point Rudy is going to part ways with these people to get to his mother, or maybe they will go with him. I'm not really sure yet. I don't have like a feeling that's strong.
Part of me is like, Rudy is going to leave next episode, like leave this group of people, because he has overcome something now that they helped a bit get him out of. And I think that him going off alone now to take a step forward in a different direction, or looking for his mom, is a lot different than him being alone at the start of this episode.
It's very true. I mean, I guess you could think that maybe him staying with them would be somewhat complacent. Like, oh, he was lonely and he lost everyone and now he gained it back and he like found his will to live again. Is he then going to require these people around to almost be like emotional maintenance and check-ins for him so that he doesn't get bad again? Is it going to be is it unhealthy if he stays with these people for a longer time period?
Well, he has a mission, right?
Yeah.
This guild that he's a part of at the moment are like, he's making money, right? And that's going to help him with his mission. But that mission is still, I think, number 1.
Yes. It does seem like these people have care for, these guild members have care for each other. And it also seems like they are traveling adventurers. Like they go to a bunch of different places and do a bunch of different jobs. And so they have set it up where these people could travel with Rudy. Like they're open to traveling. They're not like stuck like, oh, we have a mission that we have to stay here and this is where we want to be. And I honestly, maybe all the other characters, I would feel that you could leave after this episode, but I don't think you could leave Sarah.
You don't?
I don't. I think with the fact, I mean, sure.
Sarah's on her own journey at the same time, you know?
You could say that Sarah could have just been a device in this episode to warm Rudy up to these people because she's so reminiscent of a comfort. You know how like everyone has like comfort characters in shows?
Yeah.
It's almost like this was a in-world comfort character for Rudy. Like this was right time, right place, right personality to make him feel like a sense of like happy nostalgia instead of like sad.
Yeah.
And you could just say that was Sarah's role, but I'm also like, I don't know. Sarah seems like you can't just drop like this archer person that's super cool and like never show it to me again.
Well, okay. So why I felt so confident that they were going to die was like, okay, they probably wouldn't keep Sarah in this story permanently going forward or very closely going forward because they've already had that character development through Eris, right?
Okay, I get that point.
Yeah. That being said, they're not dead, thankfully. But I don't know.
That's still a valid point to be making is would they keep yes, like she was useful for what I've said as a device, personality device here, but would you really just put a new person into your story that has a similar personality to someone else that we've already seen grow? Like,
maybe if they're going to do something different with that character, like a death or like just a switch.
Isn't that like a proof of like good writing? If you can like start out that this character where people are like, oh, this person's similar, and then
even
they
the
go
main character,
and then they go somewhere totally different with it. And we're like, whoa,
sure.
They're not like Eris at all. They're their own person.
If things were a little different than what would have happened to Eris, you know?
Yeah, like show us that Sarah is her own person and that we shouldn't even be comparing her to Eris.
I do wonder if and when the Fitz situation is going to fit into this, because it's like, okay, on one hand, it could totally have just been, tell us what Sylphie's doing, fill us in that story as a prologue, almost like an OVA. That being said, part of me is kind of like expecting Sylphie to come back into the story in like interacting with Rudius. And because of that, I wonder what if they do go down that route, I wonder what the connection would be. Obviously, they're looking for Rudy. Rudy is in a snowy area, similar, I guess, to, I'd assume the north of where Ariel went. Rudy did write his name down on a contractor in that book.
That's very true. They made a point of having him sign. Why have him sign a paper? You know, he could have just handed over money and been told what room to go to. Like, what was that? Why that choice?
Narratively. Yeah. I mean, it could be nothing, or it could be like, okay, that might be a piece of evidence that, since I'd imagine Ariel has some pull, she'd be able to put the name Rudius Greyrat out there. And if it got any hits, you know.
There's also, I can't remember exactly if Ariel said last episode where exactly she was going to try to go to. But the other thing is, I can't remember exactly what did the window look like of the room that they're in episode 23 of season 1.
Yeah.
Was it similar architecturally to the circle glass? It's possible that they are literally in this town right now. We saw them in a snowy environment.
It seemed like they were in a place, from my memory at least, in a place where more wealth.
Right. Means one of the 3 cities.
Yes.
Because all the other areas are poorer. This must not be a very wealthy area. We could surmise that this wasn't a wealthy area based on the innkeep's reaction to the money, and then the guild, the people that were there, the adventurers that were not happy about this guild coming in and taking this job.
Yeah. It feels like this would be, and they could have mentioned it and I could be totally off base, but it's like, it feels like it's like a stopping point, like a stopping town, right? Gonna do some missions here and then continue on our journey.
I'm also trying to remember exactly where Eris got Rudy's staff. Because when Suzanne is listing the 3 great magic cities, I'm pretty sure he grabs his staff at the mention of one of them.
So, okay, I want to reread that because Suzanne had a line that was like, "Did you get all that?" And
I was like, no.
That was breaking the fourth wall for sure. but,
I was like, I'm pretty sure all I wrote down was the number 3.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to.
So, most countries in the Northlands are poor, but the 3 great magical nations do pretty well for themselves. The Kingdom of Renoa,
which we heard about with Sylphie when we were kids,
excels at training mages. The Duchy of Neri,
Neris or Neri,
produces great magical implements. Interesting. I wonder
and
if
then he goes and he touches his staff.
Yeah, correct.
Which fits.
And then the Duche, I don't know, of Basharant specializes in arcane research.
I remember when we first started the show, we brought up how there was a lot of mentioning of places and things, and we never knew if they were going to actually be significant to the narrative or the plot.
Idiots.
And now that I'm I don't even remember where Eris said she bought the staff, but I know she had a lot of specifications about it, what it was made out of and a bunch of details about it. So she definitely said where they bought it from and how expensive it was. It's just there are all these little details, these little plants that just brings me back to that feeling we had when we first started the show, where we're hearing a lot of names of places. Renoa, that we're are we ever actually going to go to these places, hear more about them? Is it just a little line to make the world seem fuller, but that's all it is just kind of a fluff to the world and not actually narratively significant?
Unknown. I also I'm having trouble finding if I had written down where the staff was from.
I don't even think we thought it was significant at the time. I definitely didn't write it down.
I cannot believe that we still don't know anything about Eris's brothers. Right? I would have assumed that maybe this season we might get a little bit of it if we go back to Eris.
Or saw a glimpse of them last episode or something, since we were more in a court setting.
Well, we don't even know where they are. We don't know if they're safe. We don't know if that's what Eris is doing, potentially looking, for them. But back to this episode, right? No man god.
No man god.
No man god.
Do we ever encounter man god again?
Yes.
Yes. I agree. I don't think man god is necessarily going to be used in the same way as he was in season 1, or the energy at which they have conversations is going to be the same. I think that Rudy, specifically after, this should have been turning point 4, 3 or 4, whatever this episode, but it wasn't titled that. Because I think that at this point, I can't imagine Rudy having a similar energy of conversation to especially the earlier man god interactions in season 1. And so I feel like they'd probably talk as old friends in a way. He'd probably be a little sassy because Rudy seems very sassy to me. But I do wonder how much of an influence man god's gonna have now.
I don't know, because like on one hand, I part of me doesn't imagine Rudy having a good taste in his mouth towards man god right now, and that's not really based on too much, and I acknowledge that. But Rudy has a mission right now, right? And I think that I'm projecting a bit, but it must be mad frustrating that you don't get to choose when to talk to him at any point. And
I almost expected that we would start off a new journey with a man god
so glad we
interaction.
didn't. I'm
Because
so glad we didn't.
Man god's the one
this
that
episode
told
was so
us,
great.
what to do basically after the Mana disaster, and to befriend the Superd, and to have him not be navigating Rudy or controlling Rudy's actions here.
Well, it makes me feel like
he
he wouldn't get anything from it currently.
Yeah, and I'm actually just really happy that Man God didn't have a presence in this episode, and that Man God wasn't the person that told Rudy, you should trust these people, and then Rudy be like, nah, I'm not opening my heart to anyone, and then at the end he does, and he's like, thanks, Man God.
Yeah.
I don't want to give Man God any credit right now. I think I feel shady about Man God after the last interaction with Man God. After we met, after we met the Dragon God, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about Man God anymore.
Well, I've always been gray about Man God,
I think you're supposed to feel
a
little bit
I just
funky about him.
I just thought it was worth
suspicious.
talking about that he wasn't in this episode. I wonder. I don't imagine we're gonna have Ruijerd or Eris come for a while. I think that part of me thought that this episode, once I saw them going into battle and Rudy was staying still, not moving, and everybody else was being attacked on the brink of death. I had this thought that reminded me of Pokemon when Ash first is in the forest, I think with May. It's not Dawn. I don't think it's Dawn, but it's May. And they're around Talos, and they all start coming in and swarming them. And then out of nowhere, Brock comes out and uses self-destruct from Fortress and saves the day. And I was like, fuck. What if right now, it seems like it's been a little bit, Ruijerd or Eris comes in and saves the day. And that could have been a potential thing. I'm so glad they didn't.
Me
but
too.
because of something like that, and it doesn't seem like this is the kind of story for that, I don't imagine us interacting with Eris or Ruijerd for quite a bit. If we do, I think it might be through other characters.
I'm gonna back you up on that. I feel like the way this is written is the characters, not only Rudy but the other characters, are zoomed in on, and it's actually thought about if this was a real person and this whole situation was real, and I'm not catering to whatever, to make someone else happy, some other character happy. I'm thinking about this specific person and how they would live their life and what would be good for them. A choice was made for Eris. Eris made it at the end of season 1. Why would Eris back out of that? You know? Why would Ruijerd back out of how he felt when he walked away? They closed those doors themselves because it was what was healthy for them to do, and there was something that they needed to do next. And the only way that an interaction could happen with those characters, again, is if narratively their stories come to a part where you cross paths again. You're ready for an interaction. Eris has done what she wanted to do and become who she wants to be in order to feel like she can stand beside Rudy again.
Or a card in the spokes, right? Like, or just something out of the blue random happens that would like bring them together. But I wouldn't imagine it happening next episode, you know?
I think that's why Roxy has been on complete different countries and areas than Rudy this whole time, the whole season 1. Roxy has been nowhere involved other than somewhere in the same town, but they don't meet up, or miss chances, or just a memory and a driving force.
Yeah.
Like using those connections and then remembering that Roxy like moves on her own, is going to be going and doing her own things. And just, I really like that it's not all like to service Rudy's narrative. Like Rudy is a person within this world, and he's not going to his presence doesn't dictate and control what other characters choose to do for themselves.
Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about is Rudy's fucking crazy son that he made appear out of thin air. No, like his incantation-less magic though is just,
like,
God, it's
even
so impressive.
those grizzlies are like, what?
I wonder.
Is this how the dinosaurs died?
I wonder, like, power scaling wise, where Rudy's at versus when he fought, what's his name? Lapis? Or no? Orsted? Or, yeah. Like, where he is now in terms of, like, power.
It's definitely been a year or two, something
Maybe.
like that. He's definitely aged in terms of design.
But, like, he had more of, like, a condensed, like, I don't know, attack before. It didn't seem like it all was the same attack, but like in terms of like power and sheer like force, I wonder where Rudy is now, because he hasn't been in a great state, presumably, which I don't imagine him wanting to like go on training adventures
So
solo.
Isn't this like a release of all of that pent up, like
Kinda
not using your magic or not feeling the will to live? There's the way that they animate the movement here almost makes you feel how hard he is swinging through the air. It's
the weight
wild.
of the
weight
attack is so well animated because you can see the flex on the staff. It's not like just straight and firm. You can see it bow and bend, and it's so cool.
And this whole part is a callback to, I think it was an OVA, episode 24, Eris the Goblin Slayer, with, you know, we get that whole using the fireball when technically we're supposed to be being able to get, I think, ears of goblins, and we burnt them to a crisp, which is why I was like, wait, are we getting the fur or the meat? Because wouldn't burning the fur be a problem?
Rudy's just better. So cool. Love the animation.
He only
for it, too.
incinerated the very like top layer of
you know what makes me really happy? I like the like everything art style and animation in season 2. Like so far I'm loving it, and I don't see any like marketable like changes from season 1, and you can't always say that, and I'm sure that there are. I'm sure animators have changed, I'm sure directors have changed, because that's just the industry, but there are some seasons that look completely different than others, and not in the best of ways.
This feels
it feels great.
It felt like a continuation in completely natural.
Yeah,
I really like the touch of adding just the slight pink under all the characters' eyes because they're in a cold environment. Yeah. I just really appreciated that. Like, it was, I guess, could be thought of as unnecessary. Like, I don't know if I've seen it every time I've seen a character in a cold scene in other shows, but I really appreciated it here because there was like a humanity to it.
Yeah.
And the softness, and having Rudy be so disconnected, walled up, but having almost just this like human aspect of like being cold together. I liked it.
Me too. All right, that's all I have you.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.